That is the only thing I care about. I care about defending Israel's interests. You are an American. What the fuck are you saying? What do you mean it was so good that Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, and I'm giving him credit for that? Why? That's not even a good thing for Israel, let alone for anyone else. Oh, God. Okay.
Growing fight between Harvard and the White House as the Ivy League hits over the funding freeze, calling the cuts unconstitutional. So these are grants. They're unconstitutional. Meanwhile, the White House is reportedly considering pulling another $1 billion in funding, accusing it of failing to address anti-Semitism on campus and ending its DEI programs. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett joins us now. Greg, what about the tactic of not only saying no, but suing back?
Sure, that's a possibility. I mean, look.
That's so funny. They're like, how everything that the Trump administration does is so belligerent and so stupid. And every time Fox News has to defend it by being like, I don't understand. Trump pointed a gun at this person's head, and then that person tried to fight back. They don't have the right to do that. Why are they doing that? Oh, imagine if they tried to countersue the Trump administration. This doesn't make any sense. Why? China did counter tariffs. Someone's got to put an end to that. I mean, what? Why did they put counter tariffs on us after we started a tariff war for no reason? Why would they do that? It's just, don't you know you're supposed to just let these things happen? The president is God. Trump is like God. What the fuck? Why are you resisting? Stop resisting.
Look, Harvard seems to be under the mistaken impression that it has a right to government grants. Well, the geniuses there at Harvard might want to check Webster's dictionary because a grant is a gift. It's discretionary. The government.
By the way, this is very cool. Speaking of Israel, breaking: National Institute of Health banned research funding to any university that boycotts Israel or has DEI programs. This violates the First Amendment and perverts scientific independence. Schools must certify they do not support BDS or DEI or risk losing grants and funding seizure. This is why I constantly say, if you think that this Israel shit is just happening over there and it's not being used here, okay, you are fucking delusional. You are fucking delusional. Yeah. Is DEI, no more DEI. How about defend expanding Israel? That's what DEI stands for now, okay? Defend expansive Israel. Defend expanding Israel. That's what DEI stands for now. Only Israel, okay? That's it. The only DEI initiatives I care about is the expanding greater Israeli state. If you don't, when you start off every morning, you have to do 3 instead of no Hail Marys, no Bismillahs or anything like that. Astaghfirullah, you can't do that. You have to say, Am Israel High, before you walk into the institution. And when you're working on your publicly funded research, you have to think like, how will this expand the state of Israel, the glorious state of Israel? How can we make sure that Israel takes up all the way to maybe even Ankara, okay? Because like Lebanon, that's just more Israel, obviously. Syria, also more Israel, duh. You must do a loyalty pledge to the beautiful state of Israel and all of its territorial expansion initiatives. You must be thinking at all times about how you can contribute to the cause of Israeli expansion. Under new guidelines released by the National Institute of Health, any medical researcher will have all funds terminated if they support a boycott of Israel. They can support a boycott of any other country or even U.S. states, just not Israel. Yeah. You must do land acknowledgements that Gaza and the West Bank are in Israeli territory. You must do land acknowledgements like southern Lebanon, soon to be Israel. Wait, this interview with Elizabeth Warren is hysterical.
A mental acuity. He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline.
She should have said, I'm just, I'm smarter than most men in positions of power or something.
And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. The thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak.
Wait, why is she laughing? Yo, don't laugh. Are you crazy? Dude, no, that's crazy. That is crazy. She's like, yeah, you got me. She's laughing. Oh my God. She's like, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
In sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Look, it is, the question is, what are we going to do now?
Okay.
That's crazy. She laughed. That's crazy. Why does it even matter? What's Biden going to do? He doesn't even know what date is. I know. That's the funniest part about this. Be like, yeah, the team hid it from us. You know what I mean? Just say something that at least like makes you look normal instead of whatever this was. What the? Yeah. How hard is it to say he shouldn't have been the nominee and was being shielded to hide his decline, but was deeply insistent on running again? And as we can all see, the stakes of the election were enormous, and I regret his selfishness and what position that put us all in. I feel like Democrats got hit with this laser beam where they have to appear insanely inconsistent and also insanely out of touch at all times. Left Reckoning, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream. Oh, yeah. Another friend of the show, Cooked. Why should American universities have to make... let me finish this, but then we'll talk about the I've had it here, ladies, cooking Rahm Emanuel. Why should American universities have to make loyalty oaths to foreign countries to receive funding that benefits Americans? They are not even required to make loyalty oaths to the American government. Beyond absurd. America's screwing itself for Israel. Insane stuff. What is this banger? The quote retweet. O.J. Simpson says he avoids Los Angeles because he feels he may be sitting next to whoever did it. Oh, that's a banger one. Okay, fair. Me, they're going to call the Oblivion remaster woke, aren't they? Grums, I already did it 48 minutes ago. Why did they do this? There was zero need to change this in Oblivion Master. Bring back the original male, female. Yeah, why make the change, though? It was clearly proven to be unprofitable, no? Yeah, look at this failed Elden woke. This only exists in the English version, by the way. Oh, it only exists in the English version. Well, good thing that's the version that sold like tens of millions of copies. So I guess it doesn't matter to most people. They just want to play a good game. No one cares, dude. The remaster has 180,000 people playing on Steam right now. Yeah. I'm so glad we have anti-woke games like Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Woke. Does anyone... can you guys send me a link of this, but without the paywall, so we can read the Isaac Chodener interview with historian Deborah Lipstadt, who is envoy. Because the reason why I wanted to talk about this, is because like this shit doesn't end. What? The defeminization of the Spriggan? Oh God, these. Out of the 180,000, Hasan will not be playing because he hates gaming frogs. No, because I don't know if it's actually BDS or not. I don't fully understand if the anti-Microsoft boycott extends to other products such as this one, but I'm not willing to entertain the headache, okay? The Biden official who doesn't oppose Trump's student deportations. Why the historian Deborah Lipstadt blames universities for opening the door to the Trump administration's professed campaign to tackle anti-Semitism. BDS explicitly mentions Bethesda by name. Yeah, there you go. Cancel your Xbox Game Pass subscription. Boycott Candy Crush, Minecraft, Call of Duty, flagship video games franchise owned by Microsoft. Boycott all Microsoft gaming products, including Xbox branded consoles. It became a priority BDS target on the 4th or on the 7th of April. You've been BDSG for so long. Buddy doesn't stream games. What about Microsoft PCs? I mean, obviously there's an extent to what I can boycott. Like I'm literally on Windows right now. That's my operational software. Not really much I can do about that. You know what I mean? If it's BDS, then boys, I'm Israel High Sag. Yeah, they're not even asking for a boycott of the operating software from what I understand, because that would be impossible to commit to. What is this? Okay. Anyway, let's continue with Isaac Chodener. So Deborah Lipstadt is a Jewish history professor at Emory University, was until recently the State Department's special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism under former President Joe Biden. Lipstadt became famous and was later portrayed on screen by Rachel Weisz for winning a judgment in a British court against denier David Irving, who had sued her for libel. Lately, Lipstadt offered surprising support for some of the Trump administration's actions, telling the Forward, "I'm not opposed to the administration rescinding the student visas of some of the people that they're rescinding the student visas of," she added. To depict some of these people as martyrs and heroes is ludicrous. This right here is Deborah Lipstadt, okay? She is a famous scholar and was Biden's anti-Semitism envoy. Now, the reason why I think this is important to cover is because this also shows you that the Biden administration had very similar ambitions to the Trump administration. Okay? Isaac Chodener recently spoke by phone to Lipstadt. During our conversation, which has been edited for length and clarity, we discussed whether the Trump admin really cares about anti-Semitism, why she wanted to keep some of her comments off the record, and the problem with Trump derangement syndrome. Are you pleased that the Trump administration is talking so much about anti-Semitism? Right off the jump. She says, "I'm pleased that they're addressing it because that's what I did for the past 3 years, which was to really push the Biden admin to seriously address it. So I'm very, very pleased that it's on their agenda." Psycho. Okay? This is the Biden anti-Semitism envoy being like, yeah, Trump's agenda is to tackle anti-Semitism. I'm sorry, you're a sociopath. Okay? You are a sociopath. If you think that the Trump administration is in any way, shape, or form sincere about combating anti-Semitism when Sebastian Gorka is their counterterrorism specialist in the admin, whose father was a part of the Vitesse Rend, who literally kidnapped Jews for the Nazis, and that Sebastian Gorka himself still wears the Vitesse Rend pin proudly, okay? What kind of historian are you? What are you saying? That this admin cares about anti-Semitism is the most delusional, this is the most delusional crock of shit I've ever heard. Yeah, don't believe me? Here's the Times of Israel article. Nazi link group proud of Trump advisor for wearing medal. NBC News looks into anti-terror analyst Sebastian Gorka's alleged membership in Hungarian Vitesse Rend organization. Members of a Hungarian ultranationalist group with ties to World War II era Nazis have said they are proud that the Trump admin advisor wore the group's medal at the inauguration of U.S. President Donald Trump. Every inauguration, there's another one of these weird moments. This inauguration, you had Elon Musk throwing up the Heil Hitler twice. Last inauguration, it was the Dragon of Budapest, Sebastian Gorka, loudly and proudly proclaiming his love for a paramilitary organization that collaborated with the fucking Nazis in doing what in Hungary, you might ask? Oh, that's right. Identifying, targeting, kidnapping, and shipping off the concentration camps Jews. That's what they did. Their organization name means Valiant Order. 3 people asserted that Gorka was a well-known member of the Vitesse Rend. But, of course, I forgot. You can be as anti-Semitic as you want if you support Israel. If you support the glorious state of Israel, the most moral state of Israel, you can sig Heil all day, every day on the most prominent stage in front of millions, if not billions of people. You can prominently showcase your pin of an organization that literally fucking kidnapped Jews and sent them to concentration camps. You know, as long as you say Am Israel High, you say 3 Am Israel Highs every morning and you're good. It cleanses you of the support that you have for anti-Semitic, historic and contemporary anti-Semitic institutions. Anyway. And what do you see the agenda as being? Well, I guess I've gone through a transition. Let me step back for a minute and say that from my first day in office, one of the things I called for was institutions such as governments, universities, media to take anti-Semitism seriously. I talk about anti-Semitism as a multi-tier threat. One is the threat to Jews and Jewish institutions, but it's also a threat to democracy. But also you support the biggest threat to democracy, Donald Trump, and undermining one of the pivotal hallmarks that is supposed to protect theoretical democracy, the First Amendment. And I know that's a very easy thing to throw around. People will say food insecurity is a threat to democracy, which is true, but there's a very direct link in terms of anti-Semitism. And that direct link is the fact that anti-Semitism is a conspiracy theory in contrast to any other form of discrimination. It is a distinct characteristic as a conspiracy theory. What do you think the Trump admin is doing to fight it? It's calling universities to account. And if you look at the first demands it made to Columbia, was striking about those things to end the encampments en masse. Those were things that Columbia students have been asking for a very long time. I fucking hate this person. You are such a fucking scumbag. Like, you love that the Trump administration is forcing free speech to happen on a fucking Columbia campus. You love that the Trump administration is stopping. You love that the Trump administration is stopping any sort of anti-war demonstrations taking place, anti-genocide demonstrations taking place. Would you have this exact same attitude historically towards groups that were demonstrating against Nazi Germany at the time? Now, of course, the Holocaust is not a comparative, is not an analog here. Part of the reason why it's not an analog is because it wasn't fucking live streamed like the Israeli Holocaust is being live streamed. So not a lot of people knew about the concentration camps. There were suspicions. Ridiculous. What do you mean, what? People didn't know about the concentration camps until, you know, the very end. You're a smart person. You used to be the Trump admin cares about anti-Semitism. I'm a little confused here. Isaac Chodener says, yeah, I don't know. They haven't spoken to me. They haven't consulted with me. So all I can judge is by. But Deborah, your entire career has been judging people for anti-Semitism. In some cases, very effectively. The president hosted white supremacists for dinner. Elon Musk made what appeared to be a Nazi salute. Surely you can look into their souls here. I have called that out. Okay, but more broadly, can you make some sort of judgment? I'm telling you right now, every single anti-Semitism expert, okay, every single one of these supposedly anti-Semitism combaters over here literally drop all sense of reason, all sense and all reason, the moment that it comes to defending Israel, okay? That's it. You can be as anti-Semitic as you want as long as you are pro-Israel. You are a Holocaust revisionist, okay? Wait, what are you talking about? You're smoking drywall? Not true. What? What is this? I think you guys are fighting each other for no reason. I don't think this person is... Anyway, here, let's hear what else she had to say. Yes, there's certainly been a disturbing tendency, whether it's whatever Elon Musk was doing with his arm. Okay. We know what he was... I wonder what Deborah would have to say about a prominent anti-Zionist such as myself doing whatever Elon was doing with his arm. I wonder if she would just still consider that to be whatever Hasan was doing with his arm. I mean, it seemingly doesn't take much. Turns out owning a fucking bleach sword is enough to finally unearth my crypto Nazi tendencies, according to my former podcast co-host. You know? Yeah, what did he do with his arm? Would you be comfortable if someone was doing the arm thing, you know, in front of you? Or when he appeared on video at a campaign event for the far right in Germany? There are lots of examples. They're disturbing and they're bothersome. I agree with you about the connection between anti-Semitism and democracy, but it also seems to me like picking up students off the street who write op-eds or demonstrate in favor of ending the war in Gaza is problematic for democracy too. Absolutely, absolutely. There's no question about that. Look, we pride ourselves in being a country that abides by the rule of law, the democratic rule of law. When I say I take anti-Semitism seriously, I mean we have a legal system that we can address. A judge made a ruling in August 2024 after the students filed suit because they'd been blocked access to certain pathways at UCLA because they were Zionist-free zones. The judge, Mark Scarsi, found that it was abhorrent that certain parts of campus had been physically blocked off from students who refused to denounce Israel and Zionism and ordered UCLA to ensure equal access. The lawsuit is still ongoing. But the Jewish students on campus who have no way to bring their grievances, or when they bring a grievance, find that the university doesn't take it seriously, which has been the case at a number of our most elite universities, or give up on the university. One of the calculations when applying for college now is, will I feel safe for a Jew? Dude, I'm sorry. I cannot fucking stand that so much of this conversation is literally entertaining the psychotic hallucinations of hysterical people. Okay? If you think that Jewish students are not safe in Ivy League institutions, you are smoking crack cocaine, okay? It's like saying, I don't think Jews are safe in Hollywood, okay? What the fuck? Oh my God. It's like saying, I don't think Jews are safe in West Hollywood or Beverly Hills. God damn. Like, what are you saying? This is a laughable fucking notion. It's so sickening when associated, when attached to such a fucking demonic anti-democracy movement that is straightforwardly fascist, okay? In a way to justify the Trump administration is undemocratic actions against free speech to say, well, Jews are not safe in Brooklyn is you're on crack, dude. You're on fucking crack cocaine. It's like trying to reason with a paranoid schizophrenic. What are you talking about? I don't understand it. Like, I genuinely, why would anyone remotely entertain this? There is no contemporary institutional anti-Semitism at any of these institutions, okay? None whatsoever. It is pure fucking delusion. It's so delusional that they fired a bunch of Zionist Harvard and Columbia University presidents for not being sufficiently pro-Israel. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. Oh my God. There were some really terrible instances of anti-Semitism after the war in Gaza began, but now we are actually in a political environment where the American president is using anti-Semitism as an excuse to literally pick up people off the street for writing op-eds. Free speech is free speech. I'm a stalwart supporter of freedom of speech. In other countries where they've outlawed Holocaust denial, I've spoken out against that. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. Incitement is something else. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to get into what that is. The reason I ask all this is because forward interview you said, I don't oppose many of the things that are being done. I just wish they would be done more deftly. Yeah, deftly was the wrong word. That sounds almost conspiratorial. They should be done according to law. That's what Trump says too. Trump says, oh, well, we're going to deport American citizens to El Salvador, but according to the law. That's what he says. Is that fine? Is that okay? Let's just change the laws then. Adolf Hitler changed the laws. Nuremberg raised laws. It was done by the book. Was it appropriate? No, of course not. Oh my God. Here's the other thing. Universities are regulations. Universities are rules. You can't cheat. You can't plagiarize. You can't build in campus in certain places. Universities have rules. You can't cheat. You can't plagiarize. And if you plagiarize, we will fucking black bag you and then ship you to El Salvador. Yeah, no tents. Psychotic. You have to be able to identify yourself. People on campus have to be willing to identify themselves with the proper authority and can't go around with a mask unless it's, for medical purposes. How do you know it's not for medical purposes? You just undermine the argument that you presented by claiming that people need to be maskless on campus. The ADA protects you from having to explain why you're wearing a fucking mask. It can't be said enough that pro-Israel fascists aligned with neo-Nazis and tried to murder students, attack 19-year-old journalists just covering the events on their way back to their car at UCLA, and the safety of Palestinian students is never discussed. Nobody was charged. It's insane how they have reconstructed reality. I know. I fucking hate it. Do you understand why, in the current climate, people who are advocating for an end to the war in Gaza may not want to identify themselves as the proper authorities? I don't even know what Isaac's own personal framework on Israel is, but he just straightforwardly cooks a lot of these people. A lot of he's very cutting. You get a fucking phone call from Isaac Chodener, just don't pick it up, okay? Hang up the goddamn phone because he is going to dice you up. I mean, he does this so well and has done this so well, so consistently. It's pretty fucking crazy. Well, this current atmosphere is pretty difficult, but this has been going on for a long time. I was just trying to get the actual dynamics of who has power here. This refusal to identify yourself. Are we negotiating with students or are we negotiating with people off the street? When you said that the people being picked up are not heroes or martyrs, and I'm not going to get into any specific cases, but some of the people who have been detained or cited are people who have obstructed entrances to universities, have taken over buildings, have broken the regulations of the university. I'm not talking about speech. I'm talking about action. None of that is deportable, you fucking freak. Remember, Biden's anti-Semitism envoy. So before people say, oh, it's different, the Biden admin would never do this, they set the stage for the Trump administration to do this. So suck my fucking dick. Without making direct analogies, you could point to any civil rights movement in the past, which people did not just engage in speech. They blocked entrances. Civil disobedience has a long history, but these protests were often directed at a particular group of students, like the UCLA example I gave you. But what I'm so afraid of, and having our kids' conversation is indicative of, is that some of these actions of the administration in the recent weeks are taking the focus off the very real problem of anti-Semitism. So selfish. Oh, it's taking... I like what the Trump administration is doing in terms of using border enforcement, immigration enforcement as a way to undermine the First Amendment at the behest of the glorious, beautiful state of Israel. Okay. But the real problem is it's taking the conversation, the spotlight off of anti-Semitism. Are we making a mistake in thinking that the admin even cares about anti-Semitism at all? It is simply using anti-Semitism as an excuse to crack down on educational institutions. Yeah, it's a good question. It is, I think. I served in an administration in which people who worked for it did not march in lockstep. there were different views. I think there are people who seriously care. I spoke with my successor, the person who's been named as my successor. You know, he called and we had a nice conversation. It wasn't substantive, but he really cares. Who has been named as your successor? What's his name? Kaploon? Yehuda Kaploon, I think. And he seems to really care about this deeply and genuinely. I know other people in the admin who care about this deeply and genuinely. I worked in an admin with people who cared about this deeply and genuinely, and there were some who didn't. You know, administration was made up of thousands of people. It sounds like this guy's a friend of Trump. Yeah, he supported him and worked with the campaign. Kaploon is a right-wing Miami businessman. Shocking. Well, that right there makes me wonder. I'm just a little confused why people who care about anti-Semitism are friends with Donald Trump. It's confusing. It's confusing, you know, but I can't. In speaking to him, my sense is, with the little I know about him, which is very little, he truly is concerned about fighting anti-Semitism. I also think there are many Jews, and some non-Jews too, but many Jews who are disappointed by how university behaved since October 7th. And they see a strong, to use Passover terminology, a strong hand being used. This kind of stuff infuriates me so much. Like a strong hand being used. You're not slapping the hand of your child for almost touching a hot stove, okay? You're talking about black bagging whole ass human beings with children, with lives, with dreams, green card recipients for the crime of saying the truth about Israel. The fucking arrogance and the fucking entitlement from a Holocaust historian that cannot see the straightforward parallels that are so ever present that it's basically smacking her in the fucking face. You are a Holocaust historian. How do you not see what is going on over there, which is a live streamed version of the Holocaust, and what is going on over here, which is a Weimar Germany instance where the Nazis have taken power and they have started the process of undermining what remains of liberal protections against authoritarianism. What the fuck? It's like, if you claim to be a Holocaust historian and not recognize that Trump is doing Hitler shit right now in real time, in broad fucking daylight, I wipe my ass with your fucking PhD, okay? What are you doing? Crack cocaine. There's one line in here that makes me go absolutely nutty mode. I'm going to try to fucking contain my anger here. Now, whether that hand is being used properly or not raises certain questions to what's happening. To answer your question, a lot of people were relieved to see this forceful approach. I think in many respects, it's going too far. You said some nice things about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. As a senator, he had a very strong record on fighting anti-Semitism. This lady is so fucking... Oh, my God. She is so insane. She's just one note, dude. Everything is combating anti-Semitism. Brain dead. I know there are many people, including Democrats in Florida, who appreciated his stance. What's happening now is, I think, I can't judge, but let me put it this way. I would hope that he would continue to maintain the strong stance he took while he was a senator. You can judge him about, say, tweeting happily about people being sent to a horrific prison in El Salvador, right? Look, there's no reason. Look, when you take someone off the street who's not supposed to be taken off the street, dude, I'm sorry. This is so, like, you're Jewish. You're Jewish. You're a Holocaust historian. You're a Jewish Holocaust historian. Oh my God, you are a Jewish Holocaust historian, and you are literally talking about the closest America has been to engaging in that, okay? Your life's work happening here, and you're celebrating it because the other country that you also happen to love is doing the live streamed accelerated version of the Holocaust. What the fuck? At a certain point, you have to recognize that, like, you literally did all of that to just be like, yeah, never again means just for Jews. Okay? That doesn't mean for you. What do you mean? I learned about the Holocaust to stress the importance of the Holocaust so that we could, justify the fucking state of Israel only? That's it? Oh, I come from a tradition and a personal belief that if you make a mistake, say, I made a mistake, we're going to fix it. That's disturbing. They may not care that they made a mistake. Off the record and not for quotation. That's the issue. Is there a reason you don't want to say that on the record? Yeah, I don't, because I'm still, I don't want to give people the chance. There's some people I know, including good friends of mine, who suffer from what the Republicans would call, Trump derangement syndrome? The embassy to Jerusalem. So I give him credit for that. I mean, dude, what is this? This is just like this reads like a anti-Semitic screed, okay? This right here is a Jewish Holocaust historian, Biden's anti-Semitism envoy, literally saying, I don't give a fuck if Americans are getting black bagged. I don't give a fuck if immigrants are being rounded up in dragnets and being sent to a slave labor colony in El Salvador because I care about Israel. I only care about Israel. That is the only thing I care about. I care about defending Israel's interests. You are an American. What the fuck are you saying? What do you mean it was so good that Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem and I'm giving him credit for that? Why? That's not even a good thing for Israel, let alone for anyone else. October 7, you could drive a direct fucking line from the Trump administration's action with the Abraham Accords, the destruction of the denuclearization agreement with Iran, and moving the embassy to Jerusalem, and the recognition of the permanent annexation of the Golan Heights, which is Syrian territory. All of those things combined played a major role in October 7 happening. You are short-sighted and horny for the great state, the most moral state of Israel. So much so that you are fine with undermining American institutions. So much so that you are fine with an American fascist doing Weimar Germany shit in America because you're so fucking stupid and so fucking short-sighted that this Zionist project will not inevitably lead to so much anti-Semitism that one day you'll be in the fucking concentration camps with me. You're so stupid. These guys unironically drank the fucking Kool-Aid where they think like, well, since post 9/11, we say America is founded on Judeo-Christian values. No, the fuck it wasn't. And there are plenty of people within this movement right now that are gaining prominence that keep saying, no, it's Christian nationalism as a matter of fact. The fuck do you mean Judeo-Christian values? I said this already. If I go to a fucking concentration camp for my anti-Israel statement and then they start rounding off the Jews and putting them there as well, and I have to be there with Michael Rappaport, I will kill myself. I will kill myself before that happens. I will never. No shot. Imagine the fresh hell. Not only are you in a fucking El Salvadorian concentration camp, you have to fucking sew socks together, but then you have to sit there next to fucking Michael Rappaport. Yeah, here's Deborah Lipstadt. This was when she was in the Biden administration, I believe.
October 7th, there was a feeling around the world that Israel is weaker. And in the...
You want a beeper?
I can give you a few.
You are so funny, Deborah Lipstadt.
This feeling held up to this week, maybe, but that brought many people around the world to feel that you can attack Jewish people and Jews as well. And if there is one thing that is within the basis of this organization is to strengthen Israel and to strengthen the bonding between the U.S. and Israel, and to make sure that we're safe on both sides of the Atlantic.
Both sides of the Atlantic, and as Elon said, both sides of the aisle.
I wasn't asking you to just say that because it was the Trump administration that it was bad. I was just pointing out that they're sending people without any sort of due process to a horrible prison in El Salvador. You know, that's something I find disturbing. And I would hope that, you know, that they would recognize that, because that's not what this country is about. What this country is about is only sending pro-Palestinian students to El Salvador, you know? So we have all these horrific things with immigration, with Doge dismantling federal bureaucracy, with Trump basically destroying the Atlantic Alliance. But we also have, on the other side of the ledger, moving the embassy to Jerusalem in the first term. It shouldn't be all black and white. No, it's not all black and white. Thank God Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing Israel's, illegal occupation of East Jerusalem. Wasn't that wonderful? I loved it personally. I'm an American, by the way. I'm supposed to care about America. But it seems like I also care about what's going on in Israel and the recognition of Israel's illegal occupation and the normalization of Israel's illegal occupation. I think this is very important. I don't think she caught Isaac's sarcasm here just a hunch. No, she didn't, because she's so fucking horned up on Am Israel Chai bullshit. She's so fucking horned up on thinking about Donald Trump's incredible gifts to the glorious state of Israel that she can't fucking understand anything that's going on. Like the fact that we are experiencing Weimar Germany levels of fucking oppression, and she's a goddamn Holocaust scholar. It's like, it's over. There's just like, what do you mean? Biden's anti-Semitism envoy, folks. Remember, I want to go back to your comment about these studies being picked up about not being heroes and martyrs. You have no specifics there, but it seems like maybe you are more willing to criticize them than the Trump administration. No, I'm an equal opportunity critic. I did think about your praise of Rubio, and I saw you praise Mike Pompeo too on this issue. I'm not praising them on everything, only on Israel. If people are close to anti-Semites or part of a party that is awash in anti-Semitism or working for a man who dines with white supremacists and says really gross things about Jews, it makes me think that if they're pro-Israel, you give them slack, that you wouldn't if people were doing the same thing but were not pro-Israel. That's exactly the point here, by the way. I did skip the paragraph. It's too long. I don't give a shit. We're a nation of laws. It wasn't tolerance that allows the Jews to thrive here. Jews have flourished in this country because it was a nation of laws. When students feel they have no place to bring their grievances or what they like, it's just like blah, 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 blah. What about the students? What about the pro-Israel students? Not even the Jewish students, because the Jewish students are being undermined here too, as long as they're fucking anti-Zionist. No. Look, the universities failed to address it seriously. And by failing to address it seriously, it's like, no, the question here is simple, okay? If someone who has said that Palestinians have a right to exist, that participated in a campus protest, right? Participated in a campus protest, but then that person was like caught next to a white supremacist, dining with a white supremacist, or was doing the just arm gesture that you simply claimed was a confusing arm gesture. Okay? If a person that was pro-Palestinian was doing that, what the fuck do you think Deborah Lipstadt would want that to happen to that person? I know we don't have to speculate, because there are people who didn't do any of those things and simply said Israel is a fucking apartheid state doing a genocide, and Deborah wants them to get fucking deported. So obviously, it kind of feels like you only care about Israel and not even care about the United States of fucking America. And this is not me saying like dual loyalty tropes or whatever. This is just like, there is no other way to read her fucking output, okay? It's fucking insane. Is she even Jewish? Yes, chatter. Deborah Lipstadt, who is a Holocaust scholar, famous Holocaust scholar. Yes, no, Deborah Lipstadt is Jewish. Jesus. They dismissed their grievances. They created an inhospitable atmosphere. We're now seeing the fruits of that failure. What disturbs me so much is that the debate will now become over whether anti-Semitism is being used as a weapon against people we don't like. Anti-Semitism should not be a cudgel, but you seemingly like people fake bringing up anti-Semitism against people who are not anti-Semitic, and you seemingly defend that. So because they're anti-Israel. If you aren't worried about that and you want to say very clearly that you think the Trump administration is doing that, and you even want to put on the record the very brief comments you gave to me, you're welcome to do that. I think there are certainly trends right now. For instance, some of the latest demands, because if you're calling for an external audit of courses and things like that, then what happens when you don't get a progressive administration? When you get a progressive administration, do they then turn around and audit? The fight should be against anti-Semitism and not against the institutions. The institutions open the door. Most universities fail miserably to address this, and we're seeing the consequences of that now. Dude, this is like reminding me, I so foolishly thought Americans will not be like England. Okay? And boy, was I fucking wrong. Because in the UK, the anti-Corbyn, Corbyn is Hamas, Corbyn is Hezbollah, Corbyn is actually anti-Semitic narratives, were so captivating that I remember Graeber, rest in power, to the good man, David Graeber. I remember a Double Down News piece that he did back then, talking about how the hysterics surrounding Jeremy Corbyn and the false smears were so prominently a part of the media cycle that Jews were talking about fucking leaving the UK if Corbyn was to win. Like, they literally, genuinely hallucinated an alternative reality where they thought that Corbyn was going to set up concentration camps for Jews in the UK. And I remember at the time I was like, well, there's just no fucking shot. There's no shot that Americans would become this fucking hysterical and whip themselves up. American Jews specifically. I did not think, given my experience with all of the American Jews that I know, that I am surrounded by, I thought to myself, he was not anti-Semitic. No, of course Corbyn was not fucking anti-Semitic, dude. Of course he wasn't. I'm saying that this lie was so prominently recycled over and over again that you had a shit ton of British Jews that thought, oh my God, he literally is the Ayatollah. He is going to kill me. There were studies conducted at the time where British Jews were saying they would leave the country. Like a big number of British Jews were saying they would leave the fucking country if Corbyn became president. Now, or prime minister. So I found that I found that to be a moment of mass hysteria born out of misinformation. But I thought that American Jews would be like, yeah, okay, dude, calm down, right? It turns out there are at least a decent number of people who have whipped themselves up in a similar fucking frenzy where they unironically think that there were pogroms happening on fucking American institutes of higher learning. Like, how do you delude yourself into believing, especially as like well-read people, especially as people who are like alumni of these campuses, of these institutions, how the fuck do you delude yourself into such a ridiculous position? It's fucking insane. And not a single person turned around and was like, dude, what are you doing? Not a single person was like, hey guys, maybe we're being a little hysterical here. Like claiming that a Jew is unsafe in the Upper East Side is like the most insane thing I've ever heard. It's perhaps historically and in contemporary society, the safest place for any Jewish person, okay? Like straight up, significantly safer than Israel, okay? Significantly. Not even a fucking question. So what the fuck are we talking about? You are the most delusional freak if you think that as a Jewish person, you are not safe in fucking New York City, dude. What the fuck? Saying that Jews are not safe in the Upper East Side of Manhattan is like saying white gay men are not safe in West Hollywood, okay? Yeah, not safe from getting your dick sucked, maybe, okay? What the fuck do you mean? A Japanese woman who participated in the peaceful Free Palestine demonstration in Kobe says she was assaulted by an English-speaking man wearing a Trump hat. Participants recorded the incident and filed a report with local police who are treating her as the victim. Look at that. Cool. Cool. In the past, there were a couple of viral videos of Israeli people arguing with Free Palestine protests in Japan. This man is wearing a U.S.-Israeli flag shirt, a MAGA hat, necklaces bearing both Jewish and Christian symbols, as well as a lot of skulls. This dude is... This is the most confused person on the planet. I don't know what the fuck's going on here.